Hello, ScotsCare podcast listeners. We're thrilled there's more of you than ever before, and we want to keep it that way. But did you know that most of us listen without subscribing or following the podcast? We would love it if, whichever platform you listen to, you follow or like or subscribe to the podcast. It makes a huge difference to us. Now, let's get on with this week's programme. Hello, I'm Marcus Railton, and welcome to Series 3 of the ScotsCare podcast. ScotsCare is the only charity dedicated to helping disadvantaged Scots across London, breaking the cycle of poverty through services such as financial support, homelessness, mental health therapy, family support, advocacy, sheltered housing, social events and befriending, amongst others. In the new series, I'll be chatting with guests from all backgrounds, all with one thing in common: Scottish roots. Listen to the ScotsCare podcast to hear their story. A true Scottish icon joins me for a chat this week. He shot to fame in the film Gregory's Girl back when he was only 16 years of age. He's the actor and best-selling author John Gordon Sinclair. In this very candid blether, we spoke about a whole range of subjects, and we were even interrupted by his doorbell at one point. We chatted about his thoughts on Gregory's Girl the musical, and how his whole life was changed by the Scottish Youth Theatre, without which he may have gone on to finish his apprenticeship as an electrician. We spoke about social anxiety and his avoidance of red carpet events, preferring to surround himself with family and close friends. We even touched on a random role that he had in World War Z alongside Brad Pitt, before we spoke about his love of writing and how much satisfaction being a novelist has given him over the last few years. Stick around at the end for a bit more chit-chat and to find out who's coming up next on the programme. So here we go, on the ScotsCare podcast with John Gordon Sinclair.
ScotsCare.
Hi John.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you for doing this.
Not at all. I'm sorry I didn't get to it the other day as promised, but my daughter ended up going into school late. But decided not to tell me until like 5 minutes before.
Oh, that sounds typical. That sounds. Yeah, do you know what? It was kind of fortuitous because after that I went to this thing in central London, and it was like a PR thing, and it was because, do you know they've turned Restless Natives into a musical?
No, I didn't know that.
No, and neither did I. And I got invited to this thing where they did a wee speech, and the producer of the original film was there, Andrew something, and I had a chat with him because my mate was an extra in the film when he was a kid.
Yeah,
we chatted about that, and then a couple of the lead actors were there, and they sang a song and stuff. And I don't know, it was good. You know, they were amazing. They're amazing voices, but my jury was out and these kind of things, and I thought I'd like to ask John what he would think if they decided to turn Gregory's Girl into a musical.
Well, they did Local Hero a few years ago, and I remember they sent me down the script and some of the music, and without wanting to get into a legal battle over it, I was so angered by it. I just thought it was so. I was in a kind of rage, really, particularly the music. It was. I thought it was patronising, condescending, kind of written by someone that probably never been to Scotland. Although sorry, that's
the lawyers on the phone now.
Yeah, the alarm. Hold on a second. I might have to pause for a second.
That's all right.
Sorry. Goodness me. That was my wife decided to bring the dog down to say hello.
Oh no! Do you know what? My wife, we got a dog about 8. We got a dog about 8 months ago, and it was like having another child. It was just like, you know, my wife spent the first 8 weeks sleeping in the couch in the living room because they were crate training, and now she's gone out with the dog. So I've shut myself in my box upstairs because I expect the dog to bound in at any moment and disrupt.
So anyway, apologies for that. But I didn't think. I just didn't see how it would. When I read the script and also listened to the music, I thought my initial instinct on it was right. It should just have been left alone as it was, really. And I think I'd probably have a similar feeling about that with Gregory's Girl. I'm not sure. It
Yeah.
doesn't strike me as a. I mean, they did Billy Elliot, and that did fantastically well. You know, it was a great translation, but I think there's certain things that just need to be kind of. It strikes me as a kind of just a lack of originality if you're turning to stuff like that to
Well,
turn it
this
into a
is
musical.
it. And then, they did, I know it's a very different type of movie, but they did Back to the Future as a musical. And I remember seeing the billboards in Waterloo or somewhere and thinking, oh my Lord, that's just, I can smell that from here. But that's been massive. But
I know. Well, that's the thing, and that's who am I to say? You know from my perspective, it's not something I would want to go and see. But then, what do I
no,
know?
I'm not a big fan of musicals. I think I'd be more offended. I'm more offended these days by remakes. I think going right back to stuff like Get Carter with Sylvester Stallone and The Italian Job with Mark Wahlberg and stuff. I kind of get more offended when they take something that you really value and then just completely arse it up. That offends me.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think it just shows a bit of a lack of imagination, really, and it's like trading on something that it's already been successful, and so they think they can squeeze a little bit more out of it. And I think just leave it alone as it's okay for it to just exist as it is.
Yeah, and
And
I think there is a magic in certain types of movies, like old movies like Get Carter or The Italian Job, or going right back to going back to Gregory's Girl, because there was a simplicity to it, because it's kind of a love story, and that would appall me. I think I'd emigrate if they decided to remake that, because what in a kind of
mm,
YouTube Gen Z woke, everybody texting each other. I don't think I could take that. It wouldn't translate.
no, I don't think it would either. But I mean, as I say, what do I know?
No, now, can I ask you this? Because I've never met you before, but you're one of these people that I felt I've known all my life. Do you get that a lot?
Um, well, I don't know. I don't go out very much. I tend to hide myself away, really. So, I stopped going to like film premieres and opening nights and all that kind of stuff because I just found it all too. I feel too uncomfortable with
Yeah.
it, really, and so I don't generally. I kind of go out with my friends and stuff like that, but I don't tend to go out socializing very much, really. So I don't know is the answer to your question. I don't. I do get, yeah. I mean, I do have people like nod to me, and I had it actually the other day in the shops. I told my daughter about this. I was walking down one of the aisles, and someone, oh hi, and sort of, and I went, oh hi. I don't know who you are. I've got no idea.
But there is that kind of thing. If you are like yourself, a face that people see on the television, there's that kind of, people kind of almost make a mistake thinking they know you. Think, oh, is
Yeah,
he one of the dads from the school gates, or did I see him down the pub or something?
yeah, I did it. I did it myself with Barry Norman once. I saw him. I was in a restaurant, and I saw this guy sitting there, and I went, "Oh, hi, how you doing?" And kind of like walked past. And then when I sat down on a table, I thought, "Oh crap, that was Barry Norman." And I
That's
don't know him
brilliant.
at all, but I've kind of felt like I did know him. So I sort of understand it, really. But
Yeah, I was in this little village near where I live in Surrey called Ripley, and I saw Paul Weller coming out of a coffee shop the other day.
right,
And, I said to my wife just as we were parking up, I said, "That guy looks like Paul Weller." And then I went, "That is Paul Weller. That is yeah."
yeah, I think that's yeah. I think he was born in Woking, but he lives in Ripley. Yeah,
Oh, yeah. You get into like a 2017 Mini, and I was thinking, I thought he would be like in a Bentley or something. They just get into a very, very ordinary little car. So, can I ask you, where?
I know Ripley actually. I don't live that far from there either.
Oh, I love it. We spend a lot of time walking the dog there and stuff. That's what I was going to ask you. I said, you were you born in Glasgow?
Yeah, yeah.
But you're not in Glasgow. You don't call Glasgow home anymore.
Well, I do still call it home, but
Yes.
I've got my family and all that up there. But no, I left Glasgow when I was 18 to move down to London because I was told that if I wanted to pursue acting at that time, you really had to be in London. It doesn't really matter so much now where you live, especially with things like meetings, because you can do stuff like this. You can have meetings, over over the internet now, so you can sort of be anywhere. Although having said that, yesterday I had to go into London for a meeting yesterday, and it's the first time in probably about, well, since before COVID, that I've actually been in a room with the director and the casting director and face to face, and it was quite. I didn't enjoy it. It was really strange. Much better when there's just a screen between you, you know.
Yeah, you like that. You can press end meeting and then just go and put your jogging bottoms back on.
Yeah, it was a strange sensation. But I forgot the gist of what were we talking about?
Oh, we're talking about, you left Glasgow. So you said your family's still there. Are your parents still around?
My dad died just about a year and a half ago. He managed to get to 91. And my mum is still alive. She's going to be 90 this summer. And I always say that I'm never away from Glasgow long enough to miss it, because I go up quite a lot, and my wife's from Glasgow as well, and all her family are up there. So we're kind of up and down all the time, really.
Is that a work thing, John, or is it just because we try to? Both my parents are now passed away. My mum in 2012. My dad died during COVID, and I say this about my wife Becky's born and bred English, and I was saying to her, there's kind of less reason for me to go, and I still call it home, but I don't go home. And I think when my dad passed away, that kind of severed the last link there. And also just taking the kids, it's a bit like mobilizing an army, and it's cheaper to go to Turkey for a week than it is to go back there and have to get an Airbnb.
Well, I think family have definitely got a lot to do with it. I mean, like every Christmas this year, because of work and all the rest of it, this will be the first time. My daughter's 19 this year, and this will be the first time that we'll have spent Christmas down in Surrey, because every year that's what we do. We go up to their Christmas is up in Glasgow.
Yeah.
And so that's really just because of family and stuff like that. So, but this year, as I say, because of work commitments and all the rest of it, it'll be the first time ever that they'll have, and they're already complaining. They're already saying it's not going to be the same, because
you've got two daughters, haven't you? You got a younger daughter as well. Yeah. Is she out of school now?
No, she's just gone into her A-level year, so she'll be doing her A-levels next year. And my other daughter's left. She's going to, or hoping to go to uni at the end of this summer.
Noah, my oldest son, he's doing his GCSEs at the moment, and it's I don't know, it's tough. I don't think he enjoys it very much. He's a lovely lad, but I think traditional education has not been great for him. He's good at other things, and I think that, you don't get the bandwidth in schools these days to show that you can be good at other stuff.
I know. I think that's a real shame, because when I was at school, there was woodwork classes, and there was, you could do music, and there it seemed to be a much broader curriculum that you could maybe not pick and choose, but at least you were exposed to all these things, whereas nowadays it just seems to be there doesn't seem to be any focus on the practical side of things. It's nearly always the academic side of things.
I think he goes to a decent school in a place called Weybridge, and it's good school, but it's very much kind of like, we are protecting our reputation here. We're protecting we're going to get our Ofsted. So his maths and English are not great. And I'll tell you what it was. We then, what he's good at is, we decided we're going to get a bike shed, right? So me being typically tight, I buy this bike shed off a Groupon, because it's only 150 quid, and it arrived, and it was, honestly, John, it was just shit, right? It was just it came in about 600 parts. The thinnest corrugated metal, all razor sharp, and I looked at it and thought, I'm just going to put this in the bin and tell Becky it's broken or something. And Noah says, no, leave it to me. And he was out in the back garden for about 9 hours and put it together, put the whole thing together. And now it's perfect. It sits there. Kids put the bikes in it. But ask him to do 35 minutes of studying for an inspector calls in English or something like that, and it kills him.
But I think that's the thing, is it doesn't take into account the diversity of brain types. it's like the academic side of things for me was never a great thing. But practically, I mean, I love building things. I love making things. I love painting. I love doing all that kind of stuff. I love, the I wouldn't call it the artistic. It's not artistic in any way, but I enjoy that kind of side of things. But I don't know. There doesn't seem to be as much focus or on that these days, which I think is a real shame.
Yeah.
I mean, when there was a theatre club, and this is how I get started in it all. There was a theatre club in my school that would every weekend you'd go and see a show. Well, on a Friday night they'd rent a bus and we'd all go and go to the Citizens or the Kings and see a show, and it was amazing. It was an amazing thing to do. And there was art council grants. You could get grants from the government to go off and do like a tour. You could go on tour with the Glasgow Youth Theatre or the Scottish Youth Theatre, and you get given £100 or something like that to go off and do it. And I think it's an amazing thing. It's given me I feel like I've been really lucky in the way my life's gone. But it's because of that, because it exposed me to all these different other things that I would never have seen otherwise. And it's a shame not to have that anymore.
Love what ScotsCare does? Help us spread the word. Share this podcast, tell a friend, or give us a shout out on social media. Like and share our posts. The more people that know us, the more Scots we can support.
Let me ask you this. I don't know whether it's it's too strong to say you had this kind of sliding doors moment yourself, where you were at the Glasgow Youth Theatre, and at this point, were you a trainee electrician?
Yeah.
Because I wonder, could it have gone another way? Say if you hadn't turned up on a certain day for the Glasgow Youth Theatre, could it have gone another day that today you'd be an electrician or a tradesman?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, definitely. And in fact, that there was a guy called Robert Buchanan who was actually in the films, like with Bill Forsyth. He originally was the original Gregory. When I went along to my English department, took us to see a show that the Glasgow Youth Theatre were doing, and then they encouraged me to go along because they said that the Glasgow Youth Theatre were recruiting. They were looking for new people to come in, and took me to one of the open nights. And when we went in to this kind of open evening, they were rehearsing a scene from Gregory's Girl, and Robert Buchanan was Gregory. He was the guy playing it in the scene. So when Bill Forsyth went off to get the money to make the film, I think everyone just presumed that Rab would be playing Gregory, So, and at that time I was an apprentice electrician, so I wasn't expecting, I wasn't expecting Bill to come knocking on my door to ask me if I wanted to play that part.
I wonder, maybe this is too much of a flight of fancy, I wonder if you would today, if it had gone the other way, you'd be an electrician who wrote books rather than an actor who wrote books.
Well, you see, the thing is, I don't know. I don't know if it's only because it was only because I was exposed to another world that I wanted to then go off and explore the other world. But if I hadn't been exposed to that, I probably wouldn't. I would probably been quite happy just being an electrician.
Yeah,
it's only because I get exposed to it that I realised there was so much more out there. And I've never had an ambition in my life. It's just literally I feel like I've been dragged through life by the hair. But and the only thing that I could lay claim to is that if someone that any new experience that came along, I would always say yes, and that's about the only thing that I could genuinely lay claim to. That if someone said, do you want to be in a musical? Having never been in a musical, I would say, yeah, I'll give that a go. Or do you want to be in a film? Say, oh yeah, I'd love to. I'll give that a go. Or whatever. Do you want to write a book? I say, oh yeah, I'll give that a go. But not because I particularly had any ambition to do any of these things, and then as a result of doing them, I've developed a want to do them. It's like I suddenly, when I wrote the first book, I thought, God, I, I love this. I really want to do that again. And the same when I did a musical, I thought I really enjoyed that. I want to do that again. But there wasn't. I never set out with any burning ambition to do that.
It sounds like a more kind of mentally healthy way to live your life, though. I mean, are you a ponderous person? You don't dwell on life's decisions? If I'd done that, maybe this would have happened. If I'd done this, maybe that would have happened.
Kind of not really. I'm a bit more of a fatalist, I think. I had my dad only ever gave me one bit of advice in my whole life, and and I remember we were driving over the flyover, going into the town centre in Glasgow, and going along the Clydeside Expressway, and he said to me, "Don't ever have any regrets." That's the only thing I would say to you is don't never regret, anything that you do. Always kind of face forward, and I think I've kind of that's my thing really. There's always some things you think, oh, I wish I'd done that differently, or I could have done that better and all that, but I try not to look back and think, oh God, I wish I'd done that, or I wish I'd done this.
I like the way the location is stuck in your head with that as well. I think that's.
I know. I actually remember. I remember going up over those little kind of flyover just before you go into town centre, and I remember it really clearly.
And were you okay? You're taking on a career that definitely has ups and downs for most actors. I remember when I was a kid, I was in the Glasgow Youth Theatre and stuff, and I wanted to audition and go and do drama at college or somewhere, and I auditioned for the RSAMD at the time. What was it called? Now it's called the Conservatoire or something.
Oh yeah.
And Tony Curran was there at the same day as me, and he was auditioning, and we were auditioning together. He was great. I mean, much more talented than I ever was, and he didn't get in. I didn't get in, and there just seemed to be a kind of arbitrary randomness to being an actor that I don't think my psyche could deal with, because I think I read between the lines of everything a wee bit too much, and we kind of like, what did I do wrong there? So there must have been times when you've gone up for a role and didn't get it, and then watched the person that did get it and thought, I'd have done that better.
Well, there's certain things that I've seen on television that it's more that I think, why did they not ask me? I could have definitely done that a lot better than that. And also I also had this kind of, it's not that I think I'm good, but I look at certain productions and certain actors and certain ways they do things and think, well, I could be as crap as that. So why did they not ask me?
Well, this is it. And I think, the key to generally life acting is not to feel bitter about that. And that's what you were saying there, wasn't it? You can't dwell on that, because I do watch some things on television and you think, I get it. They've got one big role when they were young, or they were in Downton Abbey, and that just seems to be a carte blanche to be in everything for the next 25 years of your life. It doesn't necessarily mean you were any good at it.
Yeah, exactly. And it doesn't really get you anywhere, I don't think, thinking that way. It doesn't, it doesn't get you anywhere thinking, oh, that should have been me.
No.
It wasn't, so, it
wasn't. It was Martin Compston, because he's in everything.
Yeah, he's in everything, yeah. But he's bloody good though, Martin.
He's very good. I think, I
know it's the people. There's certain people I watch and think, how the hell did you ever get this job? And then there's other people you watch and think, oh, you should be in everything because you're bloody great. What you doing anything?
There's so many people that I know, English friends of mine, that were so surprised that Martin Compston was Scottish, because in Line of Duty, he's not Scottish. And they just what? He's Scottish, I think the other thing I wanted to ask you about, kind of just because I'm interested and about randomness of acting, is that, and it was only recently I saw you in World War Z. And I thought, that's John Gordon's. And it was one of those stop rewinds, it's him, and then get the phone out, look it up on IMDb or just check it. And I don't know. how do you end up in that? Because that seems a brilliant masterpiece of
Random.
randomness.
Yeah, I kind of I don't know. The casting. I'd been to quite a lot of castings with this particular woman. She's an American, and my agent just called and said, "Look, she's been on the line again, and they're doing this World War Z with Brad Pitt, and want to know if you want to go in and read for it." And I was like, "Yeah, of course." And so I went in to see her, and she was the great thing about her was, if she didn't think what you were doing was right, she would say, "Oh, maybe try it like this," or she would kind of direct you a little bit and give you another chance. She wouldn't, like some castings or whatever, they film you and send it off, and there's no feedback at all. But she always gave feedback. And then I think I was probably more surprised than anyone when they phoned back and said, "Yeah, can you go get down to Falmouth, because they're filming on this big sort of battleship down there, and you need to get down there. I mean, would you have any objections to shaving your hair?" So
Yes. Yeah.
yeah, I'll do that. Yeah. So one of these things. Yeah, sure. I can be down there tomorrow if you want. But yeah, absolutely random. Yeah, I don't know kind of why they would have chosen me, but I was very grateful to.
Well, it is. I mean, who doesn't want to be
screen time with Brad Pitt? You'd know in a million years you would never have thought that would have happened.
And a brilliant zombie movie with Brad Pitt. Why wouldn't you want to be in it? But yes, but random. And have you seen the? I just thought there. Have you seen the film Exterritorial on Netflix? It's a German.
Is it just come on?
I think it's recent, because I looked at it.
The German thing, yeah. It's subtitled. It's only just come on to Netflix, isn't it? Because I started watching it the other day and realized it was subtitled and thought, actually, I want to. This looks good, because I want to sit down and watch it properly. So I haven't watched it, but I'm aware of it.
Yeah, I started to watch it in English, and I don't deal with it very well. I thought I'd rather watch it in the original, but Dougray Scott's in it. And Dougray Scott.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Playing with an American accent.
Yeah, but speaking German.
Right. Yeah.
It just it's like, I just wonder what the phone call was. Dougray, do you want to go to this film? Yes. Yeah. But you've got to speak German all the way through it.
Jawohl.
Yeah, I watched you last year in Death in Paradise, and. Is that a great gig to get? Because do they phone you up and say, "John, can you come? But you've got to fly to the Caribbean or Guadeloupe or something." Is there still a bit, even though you've been doing this for ages, you go, "That's a nice gig"?
Well, I thought it was going to be a nice gig, and also because I know I've worked with Ralph Little before, and we always got on really well. So I was kind of looking forward to. I hadn't seen him for ages, and so I was thinking, it'll be great, because Ralph was still doing it at that point. It'll be great to kind of hang out with him for a few weeks. But it was so badly organized. I just had a really shit time, and I didn't enjoy it at all. I couldn't, apart from seeing Ralph, and there was a great director working on it. The rest of it, I thought, I just want to go home, because this is actually shit. I really did not enjoy. I didn't enjoy it, and the production company ended up sending me a big hamper and stuff like that afterwards, because they said it was, we messed up here. This was this is not how it usually is, because everyone comes away from it saying, "Oh, it was just a great gig. It was such good fun."
Yeah.
But for some reason, they got all the logistics wrong, and it was awful. So no, you would think it'd be great fun, but I didn't enjoy it at all.
Oh, that is disappointing. Yeah. I thought that'd be,
Sorry.
I'll do that gig for free type thing. If you let's talk. I want to talk about something else, because you said in a couple of interviews that you were a very hands-on father. Which is a great thing. I spent a lot of time looking after my kids now. I've got 3, 16, 12, and we've also got a daughter who's just about to turn 7. So you did a lot of school runs. Is that something you said, this is what I want to do at this point in my life?
Well, no, I just heard so many stories about, people always saying, "Oh, my dad was never there," or we do a school play and my dad never came along because he was working, and and I didn't want that. I didn't want that to be the case. You know, I wanted to be here and have them not say that. Um, I think that might be one of the things I would probably do slightly differently now, because when they're young, they don't remember.
Mm.
You know, they've got no recollection of it whatsoever. It's kind of more like what's happening now that actually counts for them. You know, but when they're really 2, 3, 4 years old, they just don't remember any of that. You know,
Yeah.
so. But I don't know. I don't know. I don't have any regrets about it, actually. But I'm glad I've been here for them, and we're all very close. It's been, and I suppose all that's kind of paid. The dividends have been paid really already, because
Yes.
we all have a great relationship, you know.
Yeah.
But I just make things up as I go along, really, and that's I had no idea what it was like to bring up a kid, or what you should or shouldn't do. But my instinct was that that's what I wanted to do. I thought, I don't want to not be here and miss all these things and stuff like that. And also, I think if I hadn't done that, I wouldn't have started writing the book, the first book anyway, because I turned down quite a few jobs that meant I would be away. And then to fill that in, I thought, well, but I need to do something, because I can't just sit around, really. And that's when I'd had an idea for a script that I was going to write, and I thought, well, actually, I don't want to write a script that's going to sit around in someone's desk for 2 years and get caught up in the whole production sort of scenario. And I thought, if it's going to be ignored, I'd rather it was ignored as a book rather than a script. So I thought, I'm going to, rather than write it out fully as a script, I'll write it as a book, and then it can exist on its own. It doesn't need any, it doesn't really need. I could publish it myself if I wanted to, but I couldn't make a film of it if I'd wanted to.
Exactly. Now, did you always have a book kicking around in you, or as in when you were working for years and years and years, do you think one day I will sit down and write a novel? Or was it directly because you had a bit more time in your hands when you're doing the school runs that was an idea that then only came to fruition?
I think it was a bit of both, because I had written some scripts before. I'd had an idea about Highwaymen that I did with Neil Morrissey that would get picked up to go to pilot at Yorkshire Television, but then the guy that was in charge at Yorkshire Television left, and the new guy coming in didn't want to take on his projects and stuff. So I had done a little bit of like that. I'd always wanted to write things, and so, as I said, I had this idea, but it was as a film that for myself and Tim Robbins, because quite often I've been mistaken for Tim Robbins quite a few times, and I don't see it myself, but it's happened to me so many times now that it sparked this idea that I'd had anyway about these two brothers. And I thought, actually, well, I could write it for Tim Robbins and I. But then once I started exploring it as a book and all that kind of fell by the wayside, really. But because it was a kind of case of mistaken identity, but that ended up not making it to the book anyway. But that was the kind of the start of it, really. That's where it all started.
I'm always interested how creative people like yourself put things down on the page or write music. And I spoke to Greg Kane, Hue and Cry, and he says, if I don't feel like it when I get up, I don't go into the studio. I just sack it off for the day. I'll go and do something else, have a coffee, go to the art gallery, do something else. And that's his kind of creative muse. And then Christopher Brookmeyer was on the podcast on the first series, and he said he will sit down and come hell or high water, he will write something, even if he bins it afterwards. He will be that disciplined. I mean, do you have a routine, or do you have a way that works for you?
No, I'm a bit like Greg. I kind of I don't sit down every day and type, do my 3,000 words or whatever it is. But what I do is think about it all the time. So I
Right.
feel like I'm working on it all the time. I go to bed and have a thought about it, or I wake up in the middle of the night and have a thought about it, and then I'll sit down and put it in. And like for instance, I've just written a play. I finished a play that I've been working on for the last year, and it's uppermost in my mind at the moment. And the other night, because I finished it and I've sent it out to a few people, but then the other night I was listening to some podcast and I thought, oh God, shit, that's actually a better idea for the opening scene of the play. And so my job tomorrow, because I've got other stuff to do today, is I'm going to go back in and sort of
Okay.
change it slightly. And I was also reading. I had to go up to London yesterday, and I was reading for some reason, I don't know why, I picked up a book of Harold Pinter plays, and I was reading that like the first few paragraphs of that, and I thought, oh, actually, I might just steal that as well, steal that idea and put it in as well. So I don't sit down every day and write, but I feel
There's
like
something going on.
there's something going on all the time with it, you
Yeah.
know. And there's a few other speeches that I want to rewrite and stuff. But so I've set aside tomorrow to actually do all these changes and kind of work through it, you know. But it's not. There's no. It's kind of random. There's no structure to it.
And you say that's it, that's an end. My friend Alice, she's a novelist, and she's written two or three good books, and she says when she writes a first draft, doesn't really care, smashes it out. That's it, just gets the 90,000 words or whatever it is, smashes
Yeah.
out. And then number two or number three, is when you start to refine it. And it seems like a phenomenal amount of work. But is there a point, John, where you can go, right, that's it, close the book, it's gone to the agent, I'm not going to tinker with it anymore?
Um, yeah, that definitely happened. But the thing is, the bit I enjoy, the bit I find most frustrating is getting it out of my head and onto a bit of paper. And the bit I love the most, which some people don't like, is the editing. I love the editing. I love it when I send it to people. Like I've sent the script for the play to a couple of friends of mine, actors that I really want to be in it, and they've called me back and suggested ideas and said, would it be better if I said this or said that? And I think, oh, great. So getting the feedback, I love getting the feedback, and I love doing the editing, and also the fact that the play's finished now is like she said. I can go back and start playing with it now. It's like throwing a pot and you're just starting to shape it now and put all the little fine details on. I love that part of it, but the frustrating thing is getting it all down.
But
First
there's
of all,
also there's a maturity there when you say getting the feedback, because I like the fact that you say, oh, I like that, I could change that, I could do that. So you take it on as kind of positive criticism rather than somebody's monkeying with it's not an ego thing for you. You're saying this.
no, and the thing is
better.
yeah, no, definitely, and there are things where you think, oh no, I don't think you've understood what I'm trying to say there, and it challenges you, and that's fine. But there's definitely lots of times people have suggested things like, oh yeah, that's okay, I'm going to steal that if that's okay, because that's a brilliant idea. And also I learned this again with the first book. One of the senior editors at Faber and Faber, because it was a bit too long, really. And there was one particular scene I keep calling them scenes, but chapters that I'd spent quite a lot of time on. And she came in and she kind of cut it in half, basically, and sent it back and saying, look, I think in order to build up the tension and the structure of the overall book, you need to you just chop all that stuff out and hone it down. And my initial reaction was, what? Have you any idea how long I've spent on this?
Yes.
And the amount of effort and energy and all that's all threaded together. I haven't just done it randomly. It's all threaded together. But I sat with it for a few weeks and kind of went on, just did other things to do with the book. And then I came back to it. And of course, when I read it again, I thought she's absolutely right, because she's I've got all this stuff going on in my head, but she's coming at it as a reader would, and her instincts were absolutely right. Thinking it's too, I'm enjoying myself, thinking I'm being smart, funny, and all this. I was thinking, no, it doesn't serve the story very well, and so you learn from that. I've learned really from that, and but generally, I love it. I love getting the feedback. I love people, suggesting things, and it's not always right, or they're not always great ideas, but there's always something in it. There's generally always something you can take from it.
ScotsCare supports Scots in need across London. Your donation, big or small, helps us do more with our services. Head to scotscare.com and click donate.
I read somewhere, and you may have been misquoted, but you said, I think, that writing makes you a happier soul than acting. And I wondered if it's because of everything you've been talking about there, the control in a good way, the creativity, it's your baby.
I think that's true. I don't think I've never really been that comfortable with the acting thing, really. I mean, I've done a lot of stage work. I've spent like 10 years in the West End, like doing shows in the West End, and I love being on stage. I love having an audience. And this is something I wouldn't have said probably 10 or 15 years ago, because I was still kind of trying to find my way through it all. But I miss it. I miss when I'm not on stage with an audience. But the most satisfaction I think I've ever had in my life has come from writing, from the books, and as you say, is creating it. When you're creating it yourself, that really, when you're in charge, and it's not a megalomaniacal thing or anything like that. It's just you're in charge of what's going on, and you could and ultimately all you're trying to do, ultimately it's just entertainment. You're just trying to make tell someone a story, really, and the fact that you can do that with these little black dots or letters, you can actually make someone feel an emotion. I find an astonishing. It's like having a superpower. It's an incredible thing, I think, that you can make someone feel emotions just by typing out a few words, and so I find that quite addictive. A lot of people. I remember having a not an argument, but a discussion with Bill Forsyth, because we went to see a film together, and at the end of it, he was a bit annoyed. He said, just it's so manipulative, and I just, I didn't enjoy it. And I said, but the thing is, I'm here to be manipulated. That's why I go to the cinema. I want someone to make me feel different emotions, or laugh, or whatever, So, I think I've had some fantastic moments in the theatre, but the best moments I think I've ever had are I think the first time I saw a book that I'd written, an actual physical thing that existed, that was quite a moment, I think.
Is there any advice you would give to a younger John Gordon Sinclair now, sitting back as a fully fledged adult?
I think I would tell him to be a bit more sociable.
Oh, yeah, I could do with that. Yeah,
because I think I've had so many. I don't know what it is about. If I'm standing on a stage in front of 3,000 people, which is the kind of size of the audiences that we're getting when I was doing the producers, I've got absolutely no problem with that.
Yeah.
But when I go into a social situation, I've gone to dinners and stuff like that where I've walked in the front door and seen all the tables all set out, and walked out the back door and get in my car and gone home.
John, that's priceless.
That's I wish I wasn't that person. I wish I could just go into the dinner and sit down and have a chat with people and feel comfortable with that. But socially, I find I really struggle with that.
Oh, brilliant! But John, thank you for joining us today. I'm glad you turned up.
Yeah. Thanks a lot.
Could you help a fellow Scot in London? A monthly donation of any amount makes a real difference. Visit ScotsCare.com and click Donate to sign up for monthly giving.
Thanks for listening. And remember, if you don't need a service of ScotsCare, you might be interested in supporting the charity by donating or volunteering your time. It's easy to sign up. To do so, please visit ScotsCare.com. Next time on the podcast, award-winning author and queen of Scottish crime, Denise Mina, joins us to talk stories, suspense and the power of crime fiction. So until then, bye-bye.